Are you in perimenopause or menopause and you have low energy and you've started to notice you're putting on weight, but you haven't changed the way you're eating, or really you haven't changed anything and the weight is just going up and up no matter what you do? And have you been blaming this just on perimenopause and menopause and assuming that it's all just hormones, like most women do? Well, what if I told you it was only a very small piece of the puzzle and it may not even be your hormones? I'd like to introduce you to Thyropause, which is what I'd like to talk to you about. And this is a term that describes the connection or the overlap between perimenopause or menopause and your thyroid health and your metabolic health. And there is an overlap between all of these symptoms, and Thyropause actually describes this. So it's an overlap between your perimenopausal or menopausal symptoms and your thyroid symptoms and insulin resistance, because they're all related. And what happens with this transition in perimenopause or menopause and the change in hormones, which is a completely natural stage, and we all have to go through it at some stage as women, and it is completely natural, so our hormones are meant to change and are meant to eventually drop until you're postmenopausal and they drop it even a little bit further. This is all completely natural, but what it does is it reveals the weaknesses and problems that you have health-wise that you haven't yet addressed and you have been ignoring, and that show up all of a sudden now that these hormones are changing. It actually reveals these weaknesses, and that's what I call it, that menopause being the great revealer of what is your weakness in your health. So it really isn't just your hormones, but Thyropause is something I see time and time again. So I thought it was about time I started to talk about it, even though I've seen it with clients for a very, very long time. I've been a naturopath for over 26 years, and I feel like I've seen it constantly and more constantly recently, but just consistently. And now over the last few years, we have a term for it. And this is why I'm passionate about now letting women know that this is a combination of this overlap. So your hormones, like I said, are meant to change, but what happens to a lot of women, and I would have to say I see this in quite a lot of my clients, is that their thyroid starts suffering and becoming a little bit underactive. And this can show up as subclinical hypothyroidism, where it doesn't show up as like a full-blown thyroid issue on your pathology tests, and the doctors may not even be testing you properly, but you're noticing symptoms. And the two that I mentioned before at the beginning, as in low energy and weight gain, can be definitely attributed to thyroid issues for a lot of women. Another few symptoms that you may be experiencing if you do have low thyroid function and it's starting to change and revealing its weakness is dry skin, like I said, low energy, exhaustion, no matter how much sleep you get, putting on belly weight as well, midriff weight, or all over. Some women get hair thinning or hair loss. You might find that your digestive system is changing and you're getting reflux or constipation, or just feeling like things are going through you slowly. And you might find that your sleeping has changed and you're waking up or not going to sleep. You might have anxiety, low mood, or depression. And if you're in perimenopause and you're menstruating still, you might have heavier periods, or longer periods, or all of the above, or you've found that you have fibroids or endometriosis or adenomyosis. And for those of you that have been suffering with this for a long time, it may have been something that's been missed and not really attributed to your thyroid, but now that the hormones are changing to this transition, it's actually starting to reveal itself even more, particularly if you've had long-term stress. And stress is accumulative, and it can be one little thing on top of another over the years that puts stress on your adrenal glands, and it means you've had high cortisol for a long time, and this will actually affect your thyroid gland long term. So the thyroid controls your metabolic rate. This is why it's actually related to that, but also your energy, particularly in the mitochondria, your temperature regulation, your digestion, and that's why, digestion can be affected, but also your cholesterol levels as well. So you might even find that your cholesterol levels are going up and you're a bit worried because you don't know why. And it also helps regulate your liver and gallbladder function also. So this is one reason why it can affect your cholesterol levels and digestion of fats as well, and cause things like constipation. So this is very common and more common than women realise. So these symptoms can that I've mentioned before with thyroid can also be what women assume is perimenopause or menopause. And then the insulin resistance symptoms can be more cravings or fatigue in the afternoon or after food, putting on that belly weight, even things like high blood pressure. And you may have been tested for your blood glucose, hopefully fasting glucose. But if you haven't been tested for insulin resistance, then this can be happening way before the blood glucose shows quite high, and your HbA1c can start showing a little bit higher over time. But if they haven't been tested, or you haven't been tested for your fasting insulin, then this is something that you need to start monitoring if you haven't. So it is really important to get tests done thoroughly. And so for insulin resistance, I'd be looking at, as I mentioned, fasting glucose, fasting insulin, and HbA1c, which is like your average of glucose over 3 months. That they're really important. For your thyroid, I would be testing not only your TSH, which is what generally GPs or doctors do. You need to ask for your free T3 and your free T4, which are your thyroid hormones. And it's good to check at least once your thyroid antibodies. And these thyroid antibodies are really important because autoimmune is so common nowadays. And pretty much if most women with, or I should not even say women, but people with hypothyroidism, there's roughly around 90% of those that would have Hashimoto's or some sort of autoimmune side of it. So it's really important to just check that, like I said, even if it's once. So have these tests thoroughly, and then you'll know where you stand, and then it's not all just, like I said, your hormones. And like I said, menopause and perimenopause are the great revealers. So they'll reveal where these cracks are showing up in your health, basically. So if you'd like to know more, I'd love to share more with you about this, and I'm very passionate about helping women find out what is going on with their health, whether you're having low energy or sleeping issues, you're having mood swings and fatigue, and your periods are all over the place, or you're getting hot flushes or anxiety. I can help you with that, and I'd love to see you on my next masterclass, which is all about Thyropause. So if you'd like to join, the information will be below, and let me know if you have any questions. I would love to see you there. It's coming up very soon. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Kate Driver, Naturopath and the Midlife Health Detective, and I wish you all the best of health. Thank you. Bye.